Prelude to Famine? As I sit here and take in all of the news from every direction, all I see is deceivers, liars, corporate media, cover-ups, agenda, all pushing the same propaganda. It's time for a game changer, a visionary, an innovative person who changes the way that people think of the situations. It's time for Game Changer TV, telling it like it is. Get in the game. Thank you for tuning in to Game Changer TV. I'm your host, Terri Lynn, and this is the channel where every day we're telling it like it is. Today is July 16th, 2026. So yesterday we did a video on Prelude to War, and is Lindsey Graham's death going to bring us into a new war? Today I'm asking, is Trump announcement for trucking really identifying that this is a prelude to famine? Let's jump into this. We are in biblical times. Jesus said in the last days there would be wars, rumors of wars, famines, and pestilences. So we know a famine is coming. But let's get into this. Yes or no? If the trucking industry were collapsing, is it possible a president would use propaganda to say that it was in good standing to prevent a panic? Yes, governments and leaders can and throughout history have used strategic communication and public messaging to stabilize markets and prevent widespread panic during economic downturns. Are y'all strapped in for this? Yesterday, top story, Trump says he will seek to replace immigrant truck drivers with veterans. And people on my Facebook page have been sending me stuff. Oh, look how great our president is. Oh, look, he is American first. He's taken the driving jobs from the illegals and he's given it to veterans. Now, on the surface, doesn't that sound good? Well, let's deep dive into this. So there's New York Times reporting it. So start asking questions. Do authoritarian leaders and deceivers use the us versus them in speeches? So Trump is saying, oh, I'm taking the jobs away from them and I'm giving it to us. I'm taking it from the non-citizens and giving it to the citizens. I'm taking it from the non-MAGA people and I'm giving it to the veterans. Do authoritarian leaders and deceivers use the us versus them in speeches? Yes, authoritarian leaders and deceivers frequently use us versus them in their speeches. This tool creates fear and anger. It makes followers depend entirely on the leader for safety. Defining the groups. The leader calls their supporters the in group, us, and anyone who disagrees with them, the out group, is them. The us are always portrayed as good and pure. The them are portrayed as dangerous enemies. The illegals versus the veterans, us versus them. Do deceptive authoritarian leaders use us versus them and tells the masses that he's going to elevate them? Yes, authoritarian and populist leaders almost always use an us versus them strategy to gain power. They tell everyday people that a corrupt group, the illegals, are holding them down. They then promise to use masses, the regular people, the veterans, to defeat the rival group. The strategy works in a few steps. Identify a common enemy, the illegals, the undocumented. Jesus does not have an us versus them mentality. He said, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Not we're better than you, okay? Identify a common enemy. Leaders divide society by blaming a specific group, like rival politicians or elites or illegals for countries' problems. They claim to be the savior. The leader positions themselves as the only person that can fix the system. They tell supporters, I alone can fix this. The leader promises to empower their followers, the veterans, making them feel special and important. Yes or no? Could an authoritarian ruler or government use propaganda to deceive people? Yes, authoritarian rulers and governments often use propaganda to deceive people and keep control. Would an authoritarian leader use patriotism? I'm taking this from them bad thems, those bad illegals, and I'm giving it to these veterans that have fought for our Make America Great Again country. Would an authoritarian leader use patriotism to deceive the masses to sell their lie? Yes, authoritarian leaders routinely use patriotism to deceive the masses. Do y'all hear this? So you might want to yank off your MAGA hat. You might want to take down your flag or Trump is my president, because authoritarian leaders routinely use patriotism to deceive the masses. They wrap lives in the national flag. This makes it hard for citizens to question them without seeming disloyal. Tying loyalty to the nation. Leaders often equate themselves with the country. They make people believe that loving the nation means agreeing with the leader. This turns any lie they tell into truth and any disagreement into treason. Real world example. A famous and clear example of this playbook is 1930s Nazi Germany. The regime used symbols, rituals, massive rallies to fuse patriotism with blind obedience. They blamed minority groups, them, and foreign nations for the country's problems. This emotional manipulation. Oh, I'm taking the truck driving jobs from the illegals and I'm giving it to the veterans, is emotional manipulation. This emotional manipulation allowed the government to sell the big lie of a master race and ultimately justify extreme violence. Do authoritarian rulers use us versus them to divide and conquer? Yes, authoritarian rulers use us versus them to divide and conquer. This is a core part of the authoritarian playbook. They split society into two clear groups: the good, us, and the them, the bad. The strategy, the in group, us, the leader says these people are the real citizens. They are framed as loyal, traditional, and hardworking, versus the out group. Did Trump announce that he is giving truck driving jobs to the veterans instead of illegals? Yes, President Trump announced that his administration will take action to replace the undocumented truck drivers, with U.S. military veterans. Is this true? Is this us versus them? Is it a ploy? Is it deception? Is it propaganda? Is he really going to do this to help America? Is everything wonderful and good and he's going to make it better and he's going to rip it out of the hands of those bad thems and put it into the hands of the good veterans? The first word that came to mind was a sham. And I said, what is a sham? A political sham is a fraudulent or deceptive political process, event, or entity that mimics the appearance of legitimate democratic action but lacks genuine substance or competitive choice. The most common form is a sham election. But y'all, this announcement is a sham to make people feel safe and secure in the direction that the country's going in. Let's keep going. Because guess what? 80,000 trucking companies ceased their operations. You are referring to a well-publicized data compiled by Freight Caviar with industry analysis, the heavy-duty parts report detailing an unprecedented market contraction in which roughly 88,000 trucking authorities ceased operations and were revoked. 88,000. Now, remember I told y'all this was a sham? Trump saying he's going to give these jobs to veterans? Well, 550 truck and bus driving schools, 550 schools that train the drivers, were recently ordered to close in a massive federal crackdown. These facilities were shut down for being sham schools that failed basic safety standards. Federal investigators found these schools had unqualified teachers and gave fake addresses and failed to test students properly. Now, listen to this explanation. Did 88,000 truck driving companies close? 88,000. 88,000. Not 8,000. 88,000. Yes, industry reports show that over 88,000 trucking businesses closed over a recent 2-year period, alongside thousands of freight brokers. This period was dubbed a freight recession. They said the reason they closed is the high cost of operating. So 88,000 trucking companies closed and 550 truck training schools closed. So think about this. 88,000 trucking companies closed, 550 truck driver training schools have closed, and Trump is getting up there wrapping himself in patriotism. Oh, y'all, I'm taking these jobs from the bad thems and I'm giving them to the good us, the good veterans. I'm a good America first. The whole industry is about to collapse. He is duping people in this announcement. To dupe someone means to trick or cheat them. You fool the person into believing that something is not that's true that is not true. People usually dupe others to get money, items, or an unfair advantage. Would it be duping people if a politician said that he's giving a job to other people in the industry and the industry is collapsing? Yes, this is considered duping. It is a common trick politicians use to mislead voters because people will be losing their jobs. Man versus machine, the future of truck driving jobs on the open road. The American trucking industry is running on empty, with current truck driver shortage estimated at 80,000. Today, the future is here, fully unmanned big rigs. And these unmanned trucks are currently on the road. Are unmanned big rigs 18-wheelers currently on the road? Yes, unmanned 18-wheelers, also called semi-trucks or big rigs, without any human safety driver in the cabin, currently operate on public U.S. highways. It's a sham. He's duping people into believing something that is not true when the future of truck driving industry is unmanned drivers. Could the U.S. trucking company collapse? Yes, a total collapse of the certain U.S. trucking industry is highly unlikely, but the sector has been facing a historic crisis. Hundreds of smaller, undercapitalized carriers and owner-operators have already collapsed or exited the market due to a prolonged great freight recession. 2025, the U.S. trucking industry sees record number of company closures in 2025. This says reports indicating that more than 1,500 trucking companies were shutting down every week as of early 2025. May 28, 2026, a couple of months ago, freight market pushes another wave of trucking firms into bankruptcy. Trucking bankruptcies 2026. Who's closing? How many truck drivers have lost their jobs? The U.S. trucking industry has shed approximately 122,000 truck transportation jobs since employment peaked in October 2022. Yes or no? Is it a significant number of jobs when 122,000 truck drivers have lost their jobs? Yes, in the context of American transportation industry, 122,000 truck driving jobs is a very significant number. Truck driver shortage plagues food supply chain. This was in 2021. So if in 2021 the driver shortage created a plague in the food chain, and now 888,000 trucking companies are closing, 550 training schools are closing, 122,000 truckers have lost their job. What do you think that's doing to the supply chain? Could there be food rationing because of the oil in Iran? Yes, severe disruption to Iranian oil exports, particularly through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, could lead to food shortages and potential rationing. The crisis is driven by rising fuel fertilizer costs and broken supply chains, potentially pushing 45 million people towards acute hunger and causing global food price surges. June 16th, today. Iran warns U.S. of infrastructure for structure war. Infrastructure for infrastructure war will control Hormuz as unbreakable red line. So famine is coming. Global food supply faces a dangerous bottleneck as Iranian war persists. Could there be food rationing because of the oil in Iran? Yes, severe disruptions to Iranian oil exports, particularly through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, could lead to food shortages and no truck drivers to deliver it, and potential rationing. The crisis is driven by rising fuel fertilizer costs, broken supply chains, potentially pushing 45 million people towards acute hunger and causing global food price surges. Trump says there is a fertilizer shortage. Yes, President Donald Trump has declared a food supply emergency due to fertilizer shortage. The crisis was triggered by global conflicts such as the recent war in Iran and trade disruptions that blocked key shipments. Could fertilizer shortages lead to famine? Yes, fertilizer shortages can lead to famine. Modern farming relies on synthetic fertilizer to grow enough food for the global population. When fertilizer is scarce or too expensive, crops yields drop. This causes food supplies to shrink and prices to spike, which creates severe hunger and famine in vulnerable areas. Again, confirming the Bible. The Bible says it's going to be a full day's work for a piece of bread.
Hey, because there's no fertilizer coming in, because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, you guys know that farmers are saying we only have 6 to 8 months of food left. They can't grow food because of Trump. Hey,
Mike Adams, Natural News from April 20th, 2026. The fertilizer cliff. Why America's food system is 9 meals away from anarchy. Could a fertilizer shortage and a truck driver shortage be the beginning to famine? Prelude to famine. Yes, a fertilizer shortage combined with truck driver shortage acts as a powerful trigger for food crisis. When fertilizers are scarce and drivers are missing, the path from a farm to your plate breaks down. Yes or no, if the U.S. trucking industry was about to collapse, would politicians say that it was going to collapse? Was not going to collapse? Yes, politicians want to avoid panic. If a crucial supply chain is in danger, politicians almost always say that things are fine. Why would they downplay it? To stop panic. If people think stores will run out of food, they will rush to buy things. This makes empty shelves worse. Are y'all ready? If possible, if I was in a position, I would have extra food. Did Jesus warn that in the last days there would be famine? Yes, Jesus clearly warned that there would be famines in the last days. When his disciples asked about the signs of the end of the age, he listed food shortages as one of the major warnings in Matthew 24:7. And Jesus warned Joseph in a dream that a 7-year famine was coming, and Joseph took preparation. God warned Joseph in the Old Testament about famine, and Jesus warns in the New Testament that in the last days there's going to be famine. People need to pay attention. It will happen because Jesus said it would. Did Trump declare a food emergency? Yes, President Donald Trump declared a national food supply emergency issued on June 29th, 2026. The emergency proclamation specifically addressed threats to the availability of sufficient fertilizer needed for expected agriculture demand. Y'all get ready and look at this from the United Nations. Worsening hunger could push millions closer to famine in 13 global hotspots. They're about to manufacture something. Would famine bring food rationing? If there's not very much food available and scarcity abounds, is rationing on the table next? Yes, famine almost always brings food rationings. Governments and relief agencies use rationings to ensure that remaining food supplies are distributed equitably. Without controlled distribution, panic buying and soaring prices typically price the poorest households out of the market entirely. Yes or no? If a government was experiencing a food shortage, would they use propaganda on their citizens promoting them to eat less? Yes, throughout history, governments have utilized propaganda and public awareness campaigns promoting reduced consumption, portion control, and waste reduction during food shortages. And the Trump administration pushing the same food portion rationings.
So Trump's idiot secretary just said she wants you to eat less to save money. Watch this.
Are we asking them to spend more on their diet? And the answer to that is no. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so
what? Welcome to America's golden age, where you get one speck of chicken or tortilla and broccoli, while the president gets a new $200 million ballroom. So Trump's idiot.
Yes or no? Could truck driving shortages and fertilizer shortages be prelude to famine? Yes, supply chain log jams like truck driver shortages and fertilizer shortages can absolutely act as an early warning sign to famine. They do not cause immediate starvation on their own. Instead, they trigger a chain reaction that reduces future food growth and drives up grocery bills. April 4th, 2026, we are being warned that global fertilizer crisis could push world hunger way above the current all-time record high. Nations race to secure enough fertilizer and prevent food crisis. You're not hearing this on the national news, on Fox News, from the Trump White House. Yes or no, could an authoritarian government that wants to control food use propaganda to deceive people? Yes, authoritarian governments frequently use propaganda to control food. They do this to hide food shortages, blame outside enemies for problems, and force people to obey. Force people to obey. Now, I'm working on a video right now on the implementation of digital ID on a different video. They force obedience. How digital identity could be used to monitor food and cash rations. Citizens and states, how can digital ID and payments improve state capacity and effectiveness? Y'all, we're moving towards biblical times. The rider on the black horse in Revelation 6:5-6, who carries a pair of scales in his hands, this rider represents famine and scarcity, is part of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and is often interpreted as a symbol of a coming period of severe economic hardship where food is rationed and basic necessities are expensive. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Because the Bible is going to come to pass. God spoke it. Everything is going to happen. And we are on the final pages. So we will not be taken unaware about what is about to happen. The text describes a black horse and its rider holding a pair of scales. The scales symbolize the careful measurement and rationing of food during a time of scarcity. The voice from above, a voice from among the living creatures, declares that prices will be inflated, with a quart of wheat costing a day's wage. Could there be food rationing because of the oil in Iran? Yes, severe disruptions to Iranian oil exports, particularly through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, could lead to food shortages and potential rationing. The crisis is driven by rising fuel, fertilizer costs, and broken supply chains, potentially pushing 45 million people to acute hunger and causing global food price and surges. Oh, but look. New highly secure biometric system proposed for food ration distribution in India. March 16, 2026. Christian families attacked after being denied food rations, told to abandon Christ. Now, when strict compliance is in place to receive food, and they're telling you you're going to have to renounce your faith to be able to eat, are you willing to starve to death? Because I'm willing to starve to death. I'm willing to boil rocks and eat the salt off of it. I'm ready to boil grass and dandelions. Because we are going into perilous times. Jesus said to know this, that in the last days, perilous times are going to come. Yes or no, could an implanted RFID chip be used to ration the global food distribution? Yes, from a purely technical standpoint, an implanted RFID chip could be used to facilitate a food rationing system. Are y'all ready? Yes or no? Is it possible that a food shortage famine could be created by the governments by tracking a trucking shortage? Yes, a government can intentionally or unintentionally create a food shortage or famine by causing a trucking shortage. By causing a trucking shortage. Modern food supply chains rely entirely on constant commercial transportation to move agriculture goods from farms to processing plants and finally to grocery stores. Here's how government action can trigger a trucking shortage that disrupts our food supply. Yes or no, according to the Bible, will the Antichrist control the flow of food to the world? Yes, according to the Bible, a future ruler known as the Antichrist will control the flow of food. The book of Revelation states that this leader will force everyone to take a mark to participate in the economy. Without his mark, people will not be allowed to buy or sell anything, including basic needs like food and clothing. Yes or no? Could an implantable RFID chip be used for rationing? So, do y'all see how this is tying into the Bible? And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, not AI. It is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And they're talking about digital ID can be used to ration food. Yes or no? Is it possible that a food shortage famine could be created by the government? So they could be creating it to lead us to the technology to ration our accessibility to food. Yes or no? Since Palantir created a database on all Americans, could their technology be used to ration food? Yes. Palantir data software. Hold on, I have to clear my throat. Yes, Palantir's data software is built to combine massive amounts of information. And y'all remember Trump gave Palantir wide open access to all of our information under Doge, and Trump had Palantir create a database on all Americans. Well, that database can be used to ration our food. Palantir's data software is built to combine massive amounts of information like a giant smart digital filing cabinet. If the government had to ration food, this same software could easily track food supplies and figure out how much food each person should get. And if you were on a list to be denied food. And y'all remember, Palantir says that they create lists and they kill people.
Every Palantirian, we are crushing it. Everyone else who's listening, we are dedicating our company. We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, you know, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that. We hope you're enjoying being a partner, and we're really happy and very, very focused on what we're doing.
We hope you're enjoying our company that kills people. Doesn't this sound like it's getting biblical? You don't take the mark, you don't comply, you will die.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling all the secrets. She said Americans will comply with the digital ID or they'll get in trouble. They won't be here. It'll be over with for them. They have no choice. Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling everything on everybody and everyone all at the same time. She ain't letting nothing slide. If something needs to be told, Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling it 100% of the time.
And he causeth all to receive a mark, rich and poor, free and bond. And if you don't take it, you will not be able to buy or sell or eat. Now, people need to get it settled in their head now that they would be willing to die for Jesus than a bowl of porridge like Esau. Because choices are going to have to be made pretty soon. And the Bible says that a wise man sees danger coming and he prepares for it. So I would just encourage people to start preparing, even on the smallest possible way, because politicians lie and deceive and speak propaganda to hide the truth, all tied to patriotism, how everything is hunky-dory. I wanted to leave y'all with that. Trust in God, trust in discernment, trust with spiritual ears to hear the truth, not what a vile, ungodly man who uses deception as a... Y'all, he lied to all three of his wives. He cheated on all three of his wives. He's done all kinds of... You think he's going to be morally committed to the betterment of you, somebody he does not even know? Put your hope in God. I love y'all. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate the content that you find on this channel, would you prayerfully consider supporting the ministry?